whether it's people protesting against the desecration of the Sabbath, or the desecration of the graveyards, or the immodest dress with which people go in some of the areas in which they live, they meet the same treatment. The police will beat them up, and some of them will be remanded in custody without any pretext for up to 10 days. Remember, we in the religious Jewish community, we didn't choose to have a state. We do not believe that God requires or wants us to have a state. He is perfectly capable of protecting us if he wants to protect us. We don't need to have an army, we don't need to have tanks, we don't need to have newspapers or anything to protect us. God Almighty will protect us if we deserve to be protected. What we do need is we need to fulfill his commandments. And the voice of secular Zionism says, we are the spokesmen for the Jewish people, we are there to protect world Jewry, etc., which we would deny. They do not want anyone to speak out against them. They are the sole spokesman for the Jewish people, and they resent very much that anyone should speak out against them. And if anyone goes against their ideology and attempts to voice his protest publicly, then they're after him. And we want the people in authority there to know that they may prevail for a time. They've got their tanks, they've got their truncheons, and they may prevail for a time. But every one of us is going to have to give account of his deeds.
Well, I'm joining a demonstration against the so-called Israeli government for its discrimination, its crackdown on the anti-Zionist Jewish community in West Jerusalem, in Beth Shemesh. They are merciful, they are arresting people without, and detaining people without any charge, and really ruthless to the anti-Zionist Jewish community who just want to live a peaceful life separately from the rest of mainstream Israel. This is just a war against the true, authentic Judaism, which doesn't want to recognize them and the way of life. They want to make an integration of the Jews and religious all kinds into the Israeli lifestyle, the Israeli army, and they unfortunately they managed to succeed in a certain extent. But there's a big anti-Zionist Jewish community who don't want to break down and don't want to give in to the Israeli government's pressure. They want to live like they used to, not nationalists, not pro-Israel, being completely neutral from politics, willing to take anything, any regime which is there. Yeah, sure, they have a history of perverting our religion. They uprooted big Jewish communities from the Yemenite Jewish community, from the Iraqi, from the North African Jewish communities who are all religious. They have a history of persecuting of religious Jews, of uprooting Judaism. They have a history of doing this, and now they can't do it because of the big population. But what they're trying to do now is just trying to integrate everyone into their lifestyle, into the Israeli army, into the Israeli into Zionism, in other words.
The misfortune and the biggest horror is that the entire world consider the Zionist government, Zionist parliament, as spokesmen from all the nation, the Jewish nation. But the Jewish nation is a nation from 2,000 years, a history to be loyal to the commandments to God, a peaceful nation, not aggressive and not political. They want to convert to the Jewish nation, the old Jewish nation, to a political and aggressive nation, a Zionist nation. And they want even to call this so-called state of Israel as a Jewish state, because they want to fool up the entire world that this is a continuation from the Jewish nation. It's not a continuation, it is a transformation that does. They want to tell the full up the world that the Zionist state is protecting all Jews all over the world. But it is the opposite. All Jewish people, all religious people in the entire world, they have to protect the Jewish communities there in the Zionist regime. We are all have to protect them, not they are protecting us. We are safe here in Britain. We are safe in the United States. In the most part of the world, we can say we are safe. The most dangerous area for Jewish nation, for the old Jewish nation, is there. They didn't succeed to bring any protection to the Jewish nation, but instead they put them in the biggest danger, physical danger and moral danger.
If you look at Jewish history, the Jewish communities were never intimidated and were never intimidated by the Crusaders who burnt them alive, nor by the Spanish Inquisition who put them into boiling oil. And they were not intimidated in the times of the Hasmoneans when they were refused to bow to the idol at the cost of their lives. So we in the authentic Jewish community and Jewish belief, we're not going to be intimidated. So yes, you can bash us, but you are not going to prevail over authentic Judaism. Authentic Judaism is the voice of people who represent service to God. It's not the voice of what we want to do. It's not a case of you against me, am I stronger, are you stronger? That's not the point. The point is that we seek the freedom to follow the principles of our religion. Thank God here in London we are perfectly at liberty to do so, and we only ask for the same liberty there to be awarded to our brothers and sisters in Jerusalem.
Well, I'm a Jew, and I'm very ashamed of what's happening in the Gaza Strip. And I'm heartbroken because we've been through it. We know what it is to have a person like Hitler decide to kill all Jews. For us to turn around and do that to other human beings that are so much like us. They look like us. They eat the same food. They help build up Israel. It's more than I can stand. So I'm very ashamed, and they in the Israeli embassy should be very ashamed.
Birthright is this wonderful free trip for young Jews if you're between, I think it's the ages of 18 and 26 maybe, and then you can go on an all-expense-paid trip to the wonderful state of Israel. The goal of this trip is, from their standpoint, is to have you either decide to monetarily support Israel after, or politically support Israel, or best of all, make Aliyah and move to Israel. So my friend Connor invited me to go. The whole trip they just tried to ingrain in you, how wonderful the state of Israel is, how wonderful it is, that Jews have the state of Israel, and just really never offered you any perspective, any Palestinian perspective. You wouldn't have to know that, like 10 miles away from your lush hotel where there was these, beautiful grass and swimming pools and fountains, etc., were people living under a military occupation where they hardly have access to water, live on $2 a day.
On a wagon bound for market lies a calf with a mournful eye. High above him there's a swallow winging swiftly through the sky. How the winds are laughing, they laugh with all their might. When I was in Israel with my youth program, part of what we did was we met with a whole group of Arab Israelis as well. I think they were from Nazareth. And we got into groups and we were just talking about politics and we were talking about our history. And this is my grandfather. That you can see the concentration camp number right there on his arm. I'm the granddaughter of both 2 Holocaust survivors and a Nazi soldier. I always used to identify with being the victim, and I used to identify mostly with the Jewish side. If I'm my ancestors, I am as much the aggressor in this issue as I was the victim. And that really makes me think about where does this evil come from. This young guy was describing what had happened to his grandmother. She was pulled out of her home forcibly by the Israeli army. And I was listening to his story and others of their stories of what had happened to their family members. And it just dawned on me all of a sudden that, like, these stories sound just like the stories that I have about my grandmother and what she did and how she was hiding behind a trash can while her brother was being shot. And it just dawned on me that, like, we have the same kind of stories and we have the same kind of feelings about these stories. We're all equally upset about it. And then I also realized that these stories are still going on and they're still being created right now. And they're going to be around for generations and generations. And that makes me really sad and also angry and also really wanting to do something.
So I started doing stuff with other Jews around Israel and Palestine, which primarily involved going to rallies that the Jewish Community Relations Council organized in support of Israel with signs talking about how we were Jews against the occupation.
I made these flyers that were like, "Hi, I'm an American Jew, and I oppose the occupation, and this is why," and I was giving them out to people.
And it was really eye-opening, you know, because here are all these people who in my mind look like these totally, like, stereotypical, like, Ashkenazi grandmother types who are giving me the finger and, like, swearing at me and spitting at me and, like, pushing my male friends who I'm with.
I got there and people would smile at me and, welcome me in because I was standing over there on their side, and then I give them the flyer, they'd be like, "Oh, thanks," and then they'd, like, take one glance at it and, like, rip it up. Like this woman who, she looked like my auntie. She could have been my auntie. She, like, shielded her daughter away from me. Another girl spit on me. I was just like, what is going on here? And it was like horror. I mean, I burst out crying, like, then and there. I was just like, this is not what I'm trying to do.
The assaults that I've experienced in the past years has come primarily from the Jewish right, and they've been largely connected to the critique that we at Tikkun have put forward of the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, and our support for a peace perspective in Israel. I get death threats almost every day on my telephone or on my email or in letters.
An Olive on the Seder Plate is a multimedia performance about the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It's written by Jews for Jews. The reason being that we wanted to acknowledge and address people's real fears, and also to create a safe space for people to say, we're Jewish, we're proud to be Jewish, but we do not support the occupation.
We got to see Ariel Sharon speak, and my friend spoke truth to power and called Mr. Sharon out on his shit and, told him he was a murderer. It was just really gross to see so many people's reactions. Like, a lot of the people that go on Birthright are just New York Jews. I'm a New York Jew, but these are people who just, like, they wanted to kill us, literally. They were, wanted to spit in our faces, scream at us, punch us, and it was just really incredible to see how strongly people reacted to such a thing, and that, these people could have, would probably assume, before we said such a thing, oh, these are my allies, these are New York Jews, or I don't know. But it was just the whole thing of how they would call us self-hating Jews, and just assume, of course, that since we didn't like Sharon, we had to like Arafat or support suicide bombings, and just kind of that there could be no diversity of thought. Is either like, you know, how our man Bush says, you're either with the terrorist or against the terrorist. You had to either be totally for Israel and support it gung-ho, or you're a self-hating Jew and just, you know, you're supporting suicide bombing.
How are you, mate? Hello, sir. I would like to know why you're here today.
We are here today to protest the state of Israel, protest all the atrocities, all the bans and all what they're doing. We come here to join the Palestinian people, to show them that we support the Palestinian people. We understand that the state belongs to the Palestinian people, and the only solution of the whole political way will be the one-state solution of free Palestine. This is the only way. What will be? We can't steal something and say we have to make a solution and give it half back. We have to give the whole stolen land. We have to give back the entire Palestine. Obviously, the whole state of Israel is also against our religion. Judaism and Zionism are extreme opposite. Religion, it's against religion, it's human rights, it's against humanity. They do not represent Jews. The whole right of the state of Israel is they're trying to show to the world that they're presenting the Jewish people. So we show to them they have no rights, that do not represent the Jewish people, that do not represent the religion, that do not represent the Torah. They have no right to exist. The state belongs to the Palestinians, and we hope, we are praying for every day it should give back, every day it should come nearer to the times that it should come back to the historic Palestine, and it should be a free Palestine.
Thank you so much for coming. You have a lot of people today, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Again, sir, that bus is coming through there. Please be careful.
Oh, you're right. Hello, sir. Why are you here today?
In solidarity with the Palestinian people, and show our sympathy with their struggle against the Zionist oppression. So that we come here to show our support.
Thank you so much. Hello. You are here today for Gaza demonstration?
That rabbi doesn't speak English.
This is nice to see you here, sir. Tell him thank you. Tell him thank you for being here. Tell him thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Hello. How are you? Why are you here today, sir?
I'm here to show our Jewish support for the Palestinians who are unfortunately being ignored by the international community, and we want to show our true Jewish voice, the voice is opposing the Zionist state, and we want to also a message to the world leaders that the whole Zionist enterprise, which is really bankrupt already, a long time already, is no favor for the Jewish people. We want it dismantled as soon as possible, and the war crimes of occupation should end as soon as possible. This is talking about humanity here. We're not speaking about politics, we're talking about humanity. People are in lack of water, lack of nutrition. Children need food, medicine. This is what our message today is.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Thanks a lot. Hello. Hello, sir. Why are you here today? I see you last year. Every year you're here. How are you? Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. Just you won't say anything. Nice to see you again. Thanks a lot.
We want to show our solidarity with the Palestinians. We're feeling the that's happening. I want to bring out that Jews and Zionists are two different identities.
Thank you very much. Hello, Mum. I just want to know why you're here today.
Why I'm here?
Yes.
Because I support the freedom of the Palestinians against the demagogic state of Israel that is allowed internationally to break all international laws and steal land that doesn't belong to them and kick Palestinian people out of their homes and all kinds of unlawful acts, and they're backed by America, and our government is a Zionist government. Gordon Brown is a Zionist. He belongs to Friends of Israel, and so do many members of the government. And it's not fair because we didn't vote for that in this country. We don't vote for that kind of government and that kind of impartiality where people are treated like dirt. We have this war crimes report, the Goldstein report, and it's not been implemented. There's evidence that these people committed war crimes against children and women and old men. Nothing has been done. It's a crime.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Thanks for being kind. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Hello. I just want to know why you're here today. I just want to know why you're here today.
I'm disgusted at the behaviour of Israel to Palestinians, considering what was done to the Jews 60 years ago.
Thanks a lot. Hello. I just want to know why you're here today, Mom. I just want to know why you're here today.
I'm here to support the Palestinians and to free Gaza. It's a horrible siege, and it's uncivilized, indecent, and no civilized nation could do this. So the Israelis are uncivilized.
Thank you very much, Mom. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks. Hello again. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I just want to know why you're here today.
I'm here because of the siege of Gaza still going on. I'm just back to an interview with
Thank you very much. How are you again? How are you? How are Lindsay? Why are you here today, Lindsay?
Just to support the people of Gaza. It's right you're wrong and they're no better off. Someone's ended, but there's the same situation.
Nice to see you in every demonstration. We're proud of you. Thanks a lot.
Well, would all the violence and conflict in the Middle East evaporate if Israel simply ceased to exist? My next guest says Israel is not only breaking Jewish law with its military strikes against the terrorist group Hezbollah, but that the state of Israel itself should not even exist in the first place. What you may find more shocking is that the person saying that is a rabbi. He is Yisrael Weiss from Jews United Against Zionism. Rabbi.
Yes.
Pretty strong words.
Yes, but this is the view that was shared by all religious leaders throughout, the last 100 years when the whole movement of Zionism was created. The concept, the ideology of transforming Judaism from spirituality, a religion, into a materialism, a nationalistic goal to have a piece of land. All the rabbinical authorities said this is antithetical with what Judaism is all about, expressly forbidden in the Torah, because we are in exile by God.
So you shouldn't have a state. You shouldn't have a country. You shouldn't have a government?
We shouldn't have a state. We should be living amongst all the nations as the Jews were doing for 2,000 years, as loyal citizens, people who are serving God, emulating God with compassion. And the Talmud states clearly that if we will attempt to breach these oaths of God, of trying to live out God, it will just bring to this death and catastrophic results for the Jews. We find that since the inception of Zionism, the state of Israel, there's an endless river of suffering for the Jews and non-Jews alike. And contrary to what people believe, that there's a religious conflict, we have been living for hundreds of years amongst the Muslims and Arab communities without any UN human rights groups to watch.
So let me ask you this, Rabbi. Was life better for the Jews prior to the creation of the Jewish state of Israel?
100%. In Palestine, we have the testimony of the Jewish community living there and other lands that they were living in harmony, and they pleaded with the United Nations. In the documents, we have the chief rabbi of Jerusalem said, we do not want a Jewish state. The Muslims, Christians, and the Jewish inhabitants were ignored with the creation of the state. This political
Nevertheless,
state.
You might not have had a country per se, but you were not a stranger to being abused or slaughtered over the millenniums, right? And particularly as recently as 50, 60 years ago.
There is an issue of being killed because of anti-Semitism, and then there's another issue where you antagonize and you create your anti-Semitism through Zionism. Doing that, in other words, it's not a free-for-all. You'll knock out your neighbor's windows and then yell anti-Semitism.
All right, now I know you are an Orthodox Jew. What do traditional Jews think of that position?
Well, this was the mainstream view of Jewish people worldwide, whether it was...
well, I know it was. It isn't now. So what do they tell you now?
Well, what they've done is let's just talk about the religious point of view, because we're talking about the Judaism, not people who have left the folds of Judaism.
Right.
The Jewish view is that the mainstream view would be that, true, we shouldn't be having a state, but once it's created, the Zionist propaganda that the Arabs want to throw every Jew into the ocean, and there's an ingrained hate against the Jews, which they've convinced many Jews to believe. This is why they are fearful of returning the land.
Well, you can't blame them, right? I mean, you have the president of Iran who says the Holocaust never existed, and if he had his druthers, he'd destroy Israel and all the Jews.
That's also patently false. He has a Jewish community in Iran, and they haven't murdered them when they had the opportunity.
So you don't take him at his word that he would try to kill Jews?
He would want to the dismantling of the political state of Israel. In fact, we went a whole group of rabbis this last year to visit Iran, and we were taken up by the leaders. We met with the vice president. He was in Venezuela at the time. We met with the religious leaders. All of them stated unequivocally that they don't have a conflict with the religious.
So as long as Israel exists, Rabbi, you think just itching for trouble, right?
The Jews are suffering, the Palestinians, the Lebanese are suffering. We pray for the speedy and peaceful dismantlement of the state.
It's interesting, Rabbi. You don't hear that view often. Thank you for stopping by. Very good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well.